You mentioned that you have a very complicated pregnancy history and you have a complicated pregnancy this time. It sounds like you've had multiple miscarriages, and I'm so sorry about those. And this time around, it sounds like you have a placenta previa and an abruption. A placenta previa is where the placenta has attached over the cervix, and this is a problem for a few different reasons. First of all, there's a large blood supply going to the placenta each time your heart beats, and this is because your baby receives oxygen and nutrients through the placenta from you. And so if this is attached over the cervix, which is supposed to open up and dilate so the baby can be born, if you start to contract or dilate at all, it can cause massive bleeding. And so many women with placenta previas, in fact up to 80%, end up in the hospital at least once before they deliver because of bleeding episodes. And many times specialists will recommend early delivery between 36 and 37 weeks before you actually have a complicated emergency situation where you've had a massive bleed or something. So a placenta previa is definitely deeming you a high-risk pregnancy, but your chances of having a healthy baby are still great. As long as there's not other complications and you get help as soon as possible if you start to have a bleed, then the chances of you and your baby being healthy are still great. One other thing with a placenta previa, if you have this, then you will get a C-section when it comes time for delivery, because you can't deliver the baby's lifeline first. And also, like we talked about earlier, if you start to dilate or contract at all, you'll start to bleed. So a C-section is necessary. Now, as far as a placental abruption goes, a placental abruption is where the placenta starts to prematurely detach from the uterine wall. And again, this is a problem because it means that the blood supply that should be going to the baby isn't, and the mother is losing blood. And there can be varying degrees. There can be a small tear in a very pertinent area of the placenta that causes issues, or there can be a large tear in not such a pertinent area, and the baby is still doing okay, and the mom's still stable, and the pregnancy can be prolonged with bed rest. So every situation is so different. I can't necessarily tell you exactly what your outcomes are going to be, but your OB provider is going to be a good resource for you. Be sure to ask them these questions that you have and sit down and have a candid conversation about your concerns. And they can give you the best information based on their knowledge of your individual circumstances. I hope the best for you, and if you have any other questions along the way, feel free to ask them on our Facebook page at facebook.com/InterMountainMoms, and recommend us to your friends and family too.